Train cycle.
Train cycle.
Welcome, train
It's
cycle.
not a bicycle. It's not a train. It's a train cycle.
It works in both ways. It's pretty amazing.
It's a disgusting Frankenstein of vehicular transportation. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
But if you came for that, well, you might want to
stick around because
anyway.
This is better.
It is. My name is Erinn.
My name is Dan Beckmann.
And together we are
Riley.
And we're so excited to be hosting Train Cycle Trainer Talks today.
What are trainer talks? Whoa, slow down. First,
man, they're asking so many questions.
And I, for one, hate it.
Well, actually, I love it, and I wish you'd ask more questions. If you are watching out there, I would like to let you guys know that this show is completely interactive.
It's also live.
Whoa! So if you type something in right now in the comments, then someone might highlight it on the screen, which could be very, very cool.
I just tried to because I'm used to kind of producing this show. I'm just a host today, so I clicked to no avail on the comment.
But do let us know if you're out there and just say hi and howdy. Let us know where you're tuning in from and maybe what brought you in today. Are you a student? Are you a teacher that's kind of interested in getting to understand what the train cycle stuff is?
Or are you both? Because that's kind of the idea here. Student, teacher.
Keep it going.
Yeah,
keep the cycle going. I love that theme.
Now, we should just take a step back and tell for people who may not be familiar out there, what in God's name is Train Cycle?
Exactly. So Liz May, the founder of Train Cycle, I've actually known this woman for many years. We started as friends. We started off as friends.
And now you are mortal enemies who frequently fight to the bitter end.
No, anybody who knows Liz knows that she don't fight. Well, I don't know about that.
She don't fight.
But Liz May started this company this year. She's had it in her brain for many, many years. But because of everything that's been going on, it just seemed like this was the right time for it to happen, because what she is doing is connecting educators and trainers and professionals in the industry. I'm talking actual professionals, real live actors, not just the ones you see on TV.
Professionals. Real
sound engineers, people who are amazing in the arts, and connecting them and getting them into classrooms, getting them into all sorts of incredible places to teach their craft.
Hi, Tony. So how are you?
Nice to see you,
Thanks for being here. We love Winston-Salem. We know it well.
We do. We've actually we've patronized it.
Oh, really? You're a city? You're a city in North Carolina? Yeah, are you?
No, we've patronized it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hi, Terry. Nice to see you. Glad you tuned in today.
So that's what Train Cycle is.
Yep.
Here's what Trainer Talks is. This is a Trainer Talk. This is an opportunity for some of the trainers who work through Train Cycle, some of the professionals in the industry who will be delivering you spicy content on demand.
Yes.
To come in and kind of give you a little insight on who they are, what they do, and kind of maybe talk a little bit about their process in teaching their craft that they are also passionate about.
You're going to learn so much today about production, songwriting, publishing, and if you have any questions about any of those things, please get them ready, because here come our guests. First guest on the docket today we have is the lovely, the beautiful, the talented Lacey Green. Come on down.
Look at that. Like magic, she's here. Hi, Lacey.
Hi. This is so fun. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh,
thank you.
It really wasn't our choice.
No, it wasn't.
Right. That's true.
We're just reading this off of a paper, and then here you are.
But it's our pleasure.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
I, for one, love your, it's not a ficus. It looks sort of like a bamboo.
It's very fake. If this were real, I could not keep it alive. I'm not really sure. I think it's a bamboo. The bamboo is like real somehow, but the leaves are all fake.
That sounds like a song or a poem. I'm not sure.
Or it sounds like Joan Rivers in plant form.
So tell us about yourself. You're an amazing person, and tell the world why and what you do.
Thank you, guys. So I'm from North Carolina originally. I grew up in Pilot Mountain and started playing music. Obviously, if you're from around that area, you know we have all kinds of great country music, gospel music, folk, roots, everything. And so I kind of was lucky enough to grow up in kind of a musical household, and my parents took me around to like fiddlers conventions and music festivals and bars and stuff like that when I was a kid, and let me listen to great music. And so I got the bug really early and started writing songs, started playing guitar, and then went to school at UNC, and then after that moved out to Nashville and started trying to figure out what it looks like to be a professional musician and a professional songwriter. And that's a journey I'm still on and still learning about, and going to learn from some of the other great people here tonight. But yeah, I'm mostly a singer-songwriter, performer, whatever they'll let me do. I have fun trying. So.
And are you joining us from Nashville today?
Yes. So I'm in Nashville, Tennessee now.
Very,
Fantastic.
very cool. I haven't had hot chicken in weeks, but I did just eat some spicy food that tasted a little like chicken. So we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah, we do have some good hot chicken, I must say.
Yeah.
You do.
Well, Lacey, thank you for being here. We're going to bring another person in just so you guys can meet the whole gang all at once. We're going to overwhelm you with love.
I hope so.
Please put your virtual hands together to the man
with the plan.
And also a lot of hair. It's Wes Good.
Hello, Wes.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
I've never been better in my entire life.
Fantabulous. I'm glad to hear it.
It's nice to see you. What are you up to this evening, Wes?
Well, I'm the exact opposite of what Dan said, and with no plans right now, but probably just hanging out, probably getting some practice in afterwards. Nothing too crazy on this Wednesday.
That's practice? Awesome. Well, what on earth would you be practicing, and how does it tie into your career, which is what?
Music performance and also production on the side. So, you know, a little dabble. But yeah, I'm a bass player by trade. I actually originate from Maryland, and I came down to school at Guilford College here in Greensboro, which is where I'm still am today, eons later, after even graduating. Just, you know, decided I liked it around here and just never left.
Greensboro is great.
Cool. I also think I speak for many of us. I saw you for the first time, and I was like, that guy plays bass.
Hey, you know what? You saw me. So you know what? That's already a step up than a bunch of other people when they're watching music. So you know what? I'll give you props to that.
Here you go.
I love it. Wes, I'm so excited that you're here today because you have so much knowledge and so much experience to share with all of us. And I think we're going to have a really good time.
I think so, too.
Well, step aside, Wes, as we introduce a third. Well, I wanted to say contestant. It's not really a game, but in a way, it always sort of is.
Life is a game, is it not?
I think so. And a dangerous one at that.
We have another lovely lady joining our realm
and
today.
She is pure liquid danger.
Is she really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. But please welcome Tess Mangum.
Hello, Tess.
Can Liquid Danger be my rap name?
Yeah.
It sure can.
Tess Liquid Danger Mangum.
I love it. How are you tonight, Tess? Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Durham. I'm a Durham girl. I grew up in Stanley County outside of Charlotte, very much a very rural county. And like a lot of kids, was really happy to get into UNC Chapel Hill. So I'm a product of what happens when you go to Carolina, which meant for me to intern for record labels and hang out at Cat's Cradle and get started on what I wanted to do and be for the rest of my life. I was just happy to be in a place with diversity of thought and diversity of music and all the good stuff that the Triangle has to offer.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
you know, I once lived in a place that was the opposite. There was no diversity whatsoever. It was just, I woke up in the morning and it was just beige. There wasn't any objects or line. It was just beige.
Where was that?
It was in the void. I fell in and I hated it.
I'm glad you got out.
Yeah.
That's really neat. I'm so excited that you love the culture of where you are. I think that's so important nowadays, especially in the last few years. It's just come to light that we really all need to open our eyes and just be a little more accepting and diverse. And I think that that's so important. I love that that's your heart. So that's so cool, Tess.
Thanks.
Well, great. Well, we're going to bring on another fun friend today for all of us to hang out with. Can you believe it? I know there's so many fun people coming in today. This next lovely lady has a lovely name.
And I can say lovely too, just as many lovely times as you can.
Please welcome the lovely Laurelyn Dossett.
Laurelyn Dossett.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Good to have you.
You also have a beautiful home. Look at that arched ceiling. I love it.
Well, it's tiny. That's what you're seeing is all I live in about, 500 square feet, but it's a really pretty 500 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up in Stokes County, North Carolina, north of Winston-Salem. Out, if you're in that region, I live near Hanging Rock State Park, so I'm out in the woods and moved out here a couple years ago and enjoy it very much.
Very cool. I too would love to live in the woods. We live in the country right now, which is like the same thing, but without the trees.
That's true.
Which I'm told is kind of an important aspect to the woods.
Yeah, and water is helpful also. I have some water, so it's pretty nice. Yeah.
I love that. That's so great. Laurelyn, what do you do?
I'm a songwriter and a singer also, and have worked in, like Lacey, writing for other people and writing for myself, and accidentally ended up writing songs for plays that aren't really musicals, that are more sound Appalachian or sound, not typical musical theater kind of music. And so that's been fun. And so I have a little niche in that world, but otherwise I'm just like a regular old songwriting gal.
You don't look like an old songwriting gal, but you do look regular.
And you do look like you have a niche.
I have a very old niche.
Ooh,
what about your nephew?
All right.
Okay,
all right.
okay.
You know what? That
It's time
is.
to move on.
We've overstayed our welcome. So, guys, that's all the time we have. Have a great evening.
No, don't leave. I promise I won't make any more dad jokes.
All right.
I don't.
Okay.
That was an
I won't
uncle
make
joke,
any-
actually.
Oh, true. Exactly. So I have a dad joke ready to go for next time.
But before that happens, please welcome Kristy Jackson.
Kristy!
I'm so sorry. We're having a little technical difficulties. We just moved, so we're kind of cobbling everything together here. Hey, everybody.
You don't look like you're having technical difficulties. You're coming in loud and clear.
Yeah, you're looking good. Now your cameraman's a little drunk, but other than that,
You also look like you might have hit too much nitrous oxide, because I haven't seen you not laughing since you came on.
I wish.
Well, I got a guy.
where are you from tonight? Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Greensboro, just around the corner from Country Park.
I love
Very
that.
cool.
I love that.
And what do you do day to day in Greensboro?
I am still a songwriter, singer, and a lot of time I spent with my nonprofit corporation, Triad Musicians Matter.
Awesome.
I like that.
Yeah,
Because we do.
Yes,
and
you
still
do.
trying to move.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's a challenge in itself.
That's amazing. I'm so excited to see all of you here because Train Cycle is all about community too. And like I look over to this side of the screen, right? No,
What?
this side of the screen, and I see all of you hanging out over on my side. And I mean, we're all a big community, which is really cool. We're just in this together, as
A
the high school
community
musicalers say.
of songwriter heavy people tonight and musicians all around, which is great because as it so happens, that's the theme of today.
Exactly. So we have some questions for all of you, and we also are going to open it up to the audience for questions for all of these folks. And later we're going to be having some talks and conversations as well. So we really encourage everyone who's watching to please participate. It makes it so much more fun for all of us.
So I kind of want to dive into copyright law because that's something that we deal with a lot in theater, and actually since the pandemic, we've been doing a lot more digital stuff where copyright is a lot more, people will catch it quicker.
Yeah.
So can those of you who find this question relevant, can you talk a little about advocating in DC with NSAI on copyright reform? First of all, what that is, what it means, and also what songwriters need to know about it. That's, I think, for you, Lacey.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. So when I first got to Nashville, the Nashville Songwriters Association was one of the first stops that I made. They have Nashville in the name, but they're a global organization. They represent songwriters all over the world, and they have a lot of great resources like pitch opportunities, networking opportunities, mentor sessions, song evaluations, all kind of really awesome tools for songwriters. But then they also do this great advocacy work in DC, trying to make sure that songwriters are represented in our Congress and just in the laws that are getting passed, and making sure that our copyright laws include songwriters and their interests and stay up to date with our technology that's changing so quickly. The Music Modernization Act is a really big thing that they've been working on for the last few years. And yeah, it sort of focuses on trying to help make it so that songwriters get to have more of a say in how their rates get set. They get a better, it sort of revamped the rate court process. And it assures that songwriters are just paid a portion of the mechanical license royalties at a rate that they can kind of participate in. So yeah, these are all kinds of things that, you know, have always been important, but are even more important now. So that, you know, we're in Spotify world and streaming land and all those kinds of things.
So if you are a songwriter and you've written a song and someone says, hey, I want to use your song, like, what do you suggest? Because I think a lot of people have started writing this year, which is something very positive that's come out of our times at home. And if someone wants to use a song, like, what's the next step for them?
I would say, and everybody else feel free to chime in, I would say the first step is to get hooked up with a performing rights organization and set up a publishing company for yourself. So that you have a great place to catalog your work and to document your work, and to have a performing rights organization who can ultimately help you collect on your work when you get placements or cuts or when you release things yourself. I would say that's probably step number one. I could be missing something. I am the least qualified person to answer. Kristy.
No, we're doing great.
Go ahead, Kristy. I'm sure you have things to say, and then I can add something in a minute.
What, in terms of what, recording or
copyright stuff, like, so, you know, your song rights, your intellectual property rights.
Right, copyright. Well, a copyright is good for the life of the composer plus 70 years, I believe. But I mean, it's hugely important to copyright your work. I don't let anything fly out the door without it being protected one way or the other. Yeah, it's not difficult to do. It's online now, so it's really easy to do, and you can upload your song. And you I don't know what the fee is. Maybe $35 a tune, but I believe you can still copyright groups of songs, so you don't have to write. Copyright 10 individual songs at $35 a pop. You can write, spring of 2020, and put 10 songs in that compilation. Yep. And then you can it's a little bit more economical that way for starters.
Yeah. To answer part of that question also, there's a lot of like your question was somewhat about, if somebody wants to do your song or place your song, like it's going to be on a television show or it's going to be on a Netflix series or just wherever it's going to be. There is a lot of pressure, particularly on younger artists and songwriters, to sign over a portion of their copyright to the people who own that television show or who own the company that owns that show or the film or whatever. And with the promise that, we're going to place your song, you're going to get famous because we placed your song. And then you lose, right, exactly. He's laughing. That doesn't happen. That never happens. I mean, there maybe a few examples of people who, were first noticed because they had a song on Deadwood or something, but it's not realistic and doesn't happen often. And so signing, you always have to, I'm not saying never share publishing with someone, except for I'm saying never share publishing with someone. It's just they don't have your best interest at heart, and if the song or whatever or the performance or whatever it is ends up being something, you've lost it, and that doesn't mean that you get something else for it. So it's just something to be really careful about and get good legal advice about. So I mean, it's not like the world is full of predators for our songs.
No, but I think that there's especially, so much of what you guys do is intellectual property. And I think a lot of people have a hard time conceptualizing what that means.
Right.
Because it's such an abstract thing, right? It's literal. It's this idea, mine. It belongs to me, and that is obviously harder for a lot of people to not to respect, but to understand the importance of, because you have people. Remember those old commercials during the pirating age? It was like, you wouldn't steal a car, so don't steal a song. And that's somewhat different, but it's challenging for people to understand the idea of intellectual property theft.
Yeah.
So, can you guys just talk about like maybe the value of and you talked about maybe how people will tell you how that thing where you can do it for exposure,
right?
How do any of you guys feel about the importance of putting proper value on your intellectual property, on your work? Even if it's something that you're doing for fun. I was
going to say, a lot of artists don't get into this for the money.
Right.
In fact, I bet none of us got into it for the money, or we would be doing something else. But I think that what happens is we go into this with all of this passion, and then sometimes we might do things for free just because we enjoy it so much. But at the end of the day, it's a career. And I think that valuing your work is something that's so important. So yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on that as well. Wes?
Yeah, sure. You
rolled your eyes when we said pro bono.
Well, no, it wasn't the pro bono. It's the word exposure, because, man, I have heard the word. If there is one word in the English language that can really get my blood boiling or in this career, it's that word exposure. Because, I mean, we hear that when we talk about intellectual property, but we even think we can even think about it in a live performance aspect, especially with up and coming local bands in the area. And I see this with venues all the time, where they'll try and get these local bands to really push for a show, put them on the show for exposure rather than an actual payment. It's like, well, if we're coming to perform, we deserve some kind of compensation to a certain extent. But then again, there also comes into the play of like what kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like what kind of following that they have to really help entice to bring people into the venue. And it's establishing these working relationships with other artists, with these TV shows, with the venues around town. So, I mean, it's really trying to find that fine line of where you know that your music and your intellectual property stands. It's like, I know what the value is of my stuff is. If you're willing to work with me on this, or if you've established a working relationship with someone where it's like, that's where I find the pro bono stuff to come out more. So where it's like, hey, we've done these projects before. This was awesome. I'm willing to do it again, even at a discounted rate or something along those lines. So.
I think the difference sometimes is the view of the difference between someone asking you to provide a service for free for exposure and you making the decision to donate your service,
right?
Which has a lot of application and is a very good thing to do if it's a cause that you believe in or whatever it might be. But I think sometimes people find it challenging to value their work just because it's something that they do love doing.
Yeah, exactly. If you were an accountant, you'd be like, nope, that's my rate.
Right.
Yeah, I love that advice. Any more thoughts on that? I was thinking also.
Yeah, Tess.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
You can monetize your passion and generosity and request, if you're working with a nonprofit, for instance, you can say to try two things. You can say, well, I can't do it for free, but I could do a cash trade combo. So, get a little bit of cash, pay 1/10 of your mortgage for the month or whatever. And the trade, you could, I guess what I'm getting at is you could ask for a tax deduction letter. Now, of course, if you're not making enough money to need a tax deduction, that's not going to help you out any. But if you did have a good year and you believe in the cause, then you can say, throw me some cash and a tax deduction letter, and then you can go do the work.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's a good.
Also, I just noticed a comment from Sean over here. His tour advance documents like stage plots and such are considered intellectual property, which is something to also keep in mind as well. That it's not just music. It's not just music that is considered intellectual property. You can look at photos, videos is all the same thing. The person who's coming to take the photos for your band or whatever show you're doing is technically not your intellectual property until you reach an agreement with said photographer as such. So it's just certain things like that to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. It's amazing how there are people who like, for instance, music, but have no ability to make music, how quickly they'll forget their inability to make music when discussing payment and things like that.
So true.
You know what I mean?
People have to be able to realize, and for any starting musicians who are watching, I think this is so important. It's not that if someone says, "Oh, I'm going to pay you $500 for an hour," isn't that a lot of money? Well, let's talk about the instruments that you had to buy and the lessons you had to pay for and the hours of rehearsal. And
the gas you're spending and the man hours and the lugging the amps and the drum heads around and drum heads.
Drum heads, just the heads. But if you add up all of that time and like, let's not even bring experience into it, because that's another huge part of it. But like, even if you were just an amateur who got the lessons and who learned this skill and who got to this ready level of performance, you're already worth, I mean, much more than most people are paying.
You're worth whatever people will pay you.
That's true.
That's what it comes down to.
That's true. But always value yourself. Yep. I think that's a really important thing. So, there is a pandemic happening. I'm not sure if you guys know, but it's affected the music industry quite a lot, obviously. It's affected every industry, but we're here to talk about how it's affected all of us in a certain way. And so we have quite a few ways we could go with this, but let's kind of start with talking about the future of production festivals, touring, things like that. Where do you guys see this going? This is a huge question, and I know there's a lot of what ifs and hypotheticals, but what do you see in the future? Tess, maybe?
Or anybody.
Yeah, I'll take it. We're not going to have 2021 is not no.
Well said.
I think we can see now. I want to make a really cool screenshot of this really cool. I think I did it. Cool. Everybody else has these cool screenshots of their seminars and their meetings and things. And we have a very groovy group in the chat section, and that's really neat. 2021 is, we've been seeing the 25,000 seat venues announce the, top 10 country acts or whatever. And I think that's all going to depend, announcing dates is what I mean. And it's all going to depend on what COVID does and when the double dose of vaccines roll out. For a lot of us in the industry, we are not high on the list for who gets it first. So let's be real. Let's talk about, the children are going to get it and the medical workers are going to get it. So really think about the real calendars. So I think it's going to continue to be popular in terms of the world of drive-in movies and drive-in concerts and things like that, which I love personally. I think it's great. I'm a drive-in fanatic. But do you really want to be around 24,999 other people? And if you're on crew, do you want to be in a bus in a confined space with these people? So my company is called Sonic Pie Productions. It's a concert production company, and I also handle curation and booking of festivals and mostly outdoor series and things like that. I got super, super jealous and excited about something I saw that they did in Paris, which is people were sitting in boats and they were watching a concert from a lake.
That's awesome.
Now, if we tone that down a little bit, since we're all not sitting on yachts, and we turn that into like kayaks and canoes, that could be pretty cool.
That's a great idea.
I love that.
So I think 2021 could be about creative, odd solutions, because emotionally and financially, we need the live music, we need the musicians, we need our family, our crew family. And we're just going to have to be prudent and follow the rules. And people got to wear masks, so we're not going to work again.
Right.
I want to add to that, because that is I agree with all of that to an extent, and I just saw a comment, been off tour since March 11th. Yeah, I remember back in the last gig I worked back in March, and I remember the sentiment is like, we're the first industry to shut down. We're going to be the last one to pick right back up.
Yeah.
And people are finding ways to adapt accordingly. I know I've seen a bunch of individual musicians that I know personally who have taken to using the Twitch, which has been a streaming service a lot of gamers use. They've been able to kind of set up a channel and generate some sort of income as an affiliate with Twitch as a way to kind of provide for themselves. And I see a bunch of other bands doing that and kind of adapting to that. But as far as actually getting back into the live setting, it's going to take its time. And I think the other problem, yes, #save our stages. Indeed, absolutely. I think the other thing that's going to be prominent too, especially with not even just the audience and the tour crew, you got to think about the local labor crews that are going to be at these big tours too. Because I mean, I'm already seeing it. I read an article in the Washington Post the other day about contract negotiations for labor that are already like, kind of like, they're talking pay cuts already for labor contracts, and there are no shows. Like, how are we cutting pay for people who aren't even working? Like, it's
crazy.
It's rough, but I want to stay optimistic, and I want to believe that our shows will get back on some point. I'm hoping that late 2021 summer, once the weather starts getting warmer again, something might be able to happen. I know we currently have plans to do stuff in July 2021, and that's the earliest that anything is in my books as far as tour-wise. And I'm still kind of holding my breath on that, in the sense that it's probably not going to go through, because that is also international travel, and I'm holding my breath, fingers crossed, but not quite. But with that being said, is that I think when these shows do come back, there's going to be such a demand or demand that people are going to be so enticed to see that. And so many of these musicians are going to want to be back on the road too, that it's going to be a very kind of cutthroat kind of mentality for getting these bands back on the road. I think there's going to be a very big separation, like the big touring acts, the big national acts that everybody knows are going to be the ones who get the spotlight. Whoever can draw in the most money are the ones who are going to be the ones first back on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned, I think we've seen a surge in that in, I mean, the internet has always been an oversaturated place, but people going and trying to monetize their craft on places like Twitch and YouTube Live, it's already so challenging to get seen by any sort of algorithm if you're just starting out, especially now when half the world that was used to performing live is trying to adapt.
So I think if you're watching, I think I encourage you guys to like really just take a moment and think about, awareness is so much. A lot of people don't realize just what awareness does, because if you're aware of something and you're not acting on it, what good does that do? I've heard a lot of folks say, but honestly, if you're just aware that there are amazing musicians out there doing things online, doing things that are socially distant, Tess is going to be out on the lake with all their canoes soon.
I'm going to be on the lake next time it rains in Greensboro or down the road. That's gonna be my kind of drive.
There you go.
Exactly.
I've actually done 3 kayak concerts, and it was before the pandemic.
Cool.
So, yeah. So that concept, I think that even before the pandemic, people have been are hungry for something that's real and for experience. And so we were already seeing this before the pandemic, where people would pay to go to a small concert where they're going to also have a meal made by a chef and, whatever the thing is, or they're going to be out on a lake, or they're going, I went as an attendee to a concert in Colorado where the string quartet, a string trio was literally in the trees. They were up on deer stands playing chamber music in the trees. And I was crying It was so beautiful.
Can I ask, were all three of them mandolin players?
No, they were not.
Okay, I was just curious.
Did you say that?
That's what I've envisioned.
No, there was a mandolin player though,
No,
and a violinist and a cellist. And the cellist had a challenge getting that thing up.
no kidding.
It was awesome, but you know, it actually, you could, it's very corny. Their name is very corny. They're called Trio, TREE
I love that so much.
But you can look them up. I saw them at the Breckenridge Arts Festival, but I didn't know what I was going to. I just was walking in the woods and came upon them, which was even better. But
think about it. If you've got your kayak paddle,
right,
if somebody doesn't stay 6 feet away from you, you just back them a little bit, because the paddle is kind of like a pod. You know, we've talked about pods or using spray paint or
that's
tape,
right,
or you know, any kind of barriers to create pods. So if somebody doesn't stay away from you, the paddle, you know, 3 feet to each side or whatever, then you can just kind of nudge the guy that gets too close to you.
Yeah, I like it.
On top of that, you know, we can run sound front of house, like digital. You know, my chief engineer is also an avid kayaker, so he could run front of house on an iPad in his kayak.
That's amazing.
That's very cool.
Yeah, Tess, when you're ready to do this, I've got, you know, let's get together, get our ideas together on this, because I've got a couple of experiences, so I might be able to help you troubleshoot whatever your plan is.
I have a microphone.
My point though, I know we're talking about that specifically, but my point is that pandemic or not, I think any creative ways that we find ways to connect to audience in an intimate way, whether you know, it's hard to monetize. I get it, but it was already hard to monetize before the pandemic. And so if we can just be more creative and be more connective, and for me, being outdoors makes music better for me anyway. Absolutely. So, you know, there are ways, you know, to get off the train, get off the tour train, or get off the promoter's train. That's hard to do and make a living. I get it.
It's important for people to just like try things too. You know, Dan and I went and we did a show out in Nebraska a month and a half ago now. Mm-hmm. And it was a huge, huge park. Dan's performed there several times. There's usually thousands of people out there. They had limited it to like 200, and they literally spray painted the grass, and like you'd get there and you'd go to your little grass and you'd sit in it. And honestly, like, was it 4,000 people, and the rush that you usually have from that kind of felt like that after March. I'm not going to lie. Like,
but even that is like the most, I think, and there's nothing wrong with this by any means. In fact, it's great. Yeah. But the most obvious way to interpret live performance in the pandemic. I'm curious if you guys have what ways you've been innovating, and especially, Laurelyn, the way that you were talking about the connection with the audience, I think being the biggest thing that's missing. Mm-hmm. Have you discovered anything, or have you seen anything, or tried anything that's been kind of innovating?
Either digitally or in person, or anything
just
like
given
that.
The circumstances. This is an open forum, by the way.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start. I think I wouldn't say it's innovative or creative, but back when it first started, and me and my bandmates were kind of trying to figure out what to do, we were like, all right, everyone kind of take turns to like live stream, and they eventually gave it my turn, and there's only so many times, especially for me as a bass player, as like I'm the accompaniment, I kind of like hold it back. There's only so many times I can perform something on live bass before people are like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. How about Victor Wooten?
If I could play like Victor Wooten, this would be a whole different conversation.
Okay.
I wish. Yeah. But yeah, no, Victor Wooten's great. But what I did is I decided to give insight on how the inside scoop on like transporting gear and like the things that you don't think about. And so I literally just to goof around, I just carted my bass cab and my workout for the day, carted my bass cab up and down the stairs, yelling obscenities that you would expect behind the scenes kind of thing. And that's people got some laughs, but I mean that was like
And it's different. You know, people love different
Yeah.
things. Like they see the concerts and they see stuff like that, but they like something that's different and new. And I think that's a huge part of it.
And it was I was like, this is dumb, but you know what? Why not? We're gonna go.
I like it too.
I will never do it again though, because there's a big cab. A 6x10 is not fun to cart up some stairs.
You know, another thing I've seen in the pandemic a lot is people preparing, getting ready, because a lot of my friends who are musicians like went through a kind of a, I don't want to say depressive state, but let's call a spade a spade. It was very depressing the first few months of COVID, not having that live audience, feeling like your craft is maybe not important anymore. I know I went through that. I actually went through that years ago when the Orlando shootings happened. I remember sitting down and just like not knowing what to do and being like, wow, I sing and dance. That's all I do. That's not helpful at all, you know? And I think that like when you don't have something tangible, like in a pandemic right now, you know, we're not the most important things, I would say, in our own heads.
To some people, though, music is, and we're talking specifically music, is so massively important and understood in a daily life that it is very important, and it is responsibility for musicians and artists to continue to create, because like when has something as benign as Netflix been more important or useful? You know what I mean? I mean, like this is stuff that people are consuming every day just to stay sane.
So being ready and like kind of pumping out new content, even when you're not motivated, I think is so important, because it will change the world in its own way. Lacey, I know you're
and unmotivated music is the best.
Right. I'm just saying, like, even when you get into it, I know sometimes, and I'm sure, I'm curious to hear what you all have to say about this, but when you are unmotivated, or when you're not like having that thing to go for, like if I'm preparing for a concert next Saturday, I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to prepare. And even if I'm not feeling like it at the beginning, by the time I'm an hour in, I'm like, yes, let's go. This is the best life ever, you know? So like, you know, Lacey, you're a songwriter in Nashville, and you guys have been open and closed this whole time. What's that been like for you?
Mostly closed. Yeah, it's been crazy. But I think it's also been nice to be. The great thing about, you know, the arts and music is it's a community, you know, and I have all of these friends. Like Kristy was one of the first people who ever wrote with me, like long before I had anything good. I was terrible, and she was so kind to me, and she took me in and showed me how to write a song. And, you know, so we have this community around us who, like, we are really in that part of it together. And one thing, like, I have a group here, we call it Song Club, and we're all songwriters, but we, every week on Tuesdays, we all write a song and send it in, and we listen to each other's work and we share feedback. And that's been a really, like, cathartic thing to have that accountability to keep creating, even when it seems like, oh, I don't have quite as many reasons. Well, I still have my friends, and we still all need to process what we're going through. And, you know, it's been hard to, I've missed the performing part a lot. I was playing probably 3 shows a week for about 10 years before all of this happened. So I feel that's been just a strange change. But at the same time, my band and I have been able to make almost 2 full records in the past year and a half, because we have all this time to work on that. So I think I try to think about it as just sort of like, you know, as creative people, we're always juggling a lot of different balls. And so I'm trying to just focus on which of those things can I invest in now, and have faith that the other stuff is going to come back. And when it does come back, we'll have a lot to offer.
That's such a good, like, time is such a precious resource, especially as you become, I don't want to say more and more successful, but as you find more and more success in your career, in your craft, which tends to come hand in hand. Yeah. Time is such a precious resource,
and even just taking up the commute time, you know, even if you're gigging online, you know, you're not driving an hour both ways to your next gig. And
it's forced people out of their groove. Like you have 40 extra hours a week if you're, you know, I mean.
Hopefully not 40 extra hours where we're all in trouble. Well, I mean, some of you might.
Just for an example, you know.
I love that, Lacey. And, you know, I think it is so important. And I think if we all realize, and anyone who's young who's watching, I know we have a lot of students watching today.
Is Tricky Patterns your name, or is that a business? Because if your name is Tricky Patterns, I would like to trade life with you for just a day, please.
Oh, that would be a great name. That'd be a great band name. Tricky Patterns. Ding, 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 ding. That's what they sound like. Actually, if it's a band and it doesn't sound like that, I'm also sorry.
Unless they're in the trees and then they get a pass.
Like I was saying, we have a lot of young people watching today. And, I think it's just important to learn from these folks and like realize your importance as a musician, as an artist, because I mean, at the end of the day, and I know I have a heart for the arts, but like at the end of the day, even if we're not the ones that are finding the vaccine, even if we're not the ones that are, we're changing the world.
You're treating the hurt.
We're making humanity what it's all about, and people can be completely changed in a song. So I know Kristy and Lacey, you work together a lot. Kristy, like why did you get into songwriting, and where did you find it, the love for it at first? And
how can you bottle that up? Like really, if someone has always wanted to write songs, and this is a perfect excuse, and they have the time and the resources, how can they get started?
Yeah.
How did I start writing songs? I think songwriting found me. I think if just someone is trying to start writing songs, just start writing. Don't start editing yourself. Don't start trying to force rhymes. Don't do anything. Just start writing. And then, then you'll have time to try to put it in forms and, add cadence to it and melody. But I mean, I think if you want to start, you can. I do think if you're a songwriter, you know it. And whether you're making money or not, you still write songs, so, and I found that along with what we've discussed before about, what we were doing differently, I started doing, and it's completely for selfish reasons I found, but I thought, okay, you can't perform. I'll just do like one song every Wednesday. And then, so I'd put it on the internet, and come to find out, it was actually really good for me because it helped me feel connected, because I was getting feedback and it was like, oh, hi, we're not alone. And they were like, oh, it's so good to hear a song and this and that. So it was, it wasn't that I was giving them anything. I don't know if they realized they were giving me much back in return. And it really was a very symbiotic, very sweet little relationship that I've come to depend on Wednesdays now. So
that's kind of a beautiful depiction of, I think, the relationship of a performer and an artist, or an artist and its audience as well.
So
it's
true.
Like, I think most people get into performance and art sort of selfishly. I mean, not selfishly, but just
because it's what we feel inside.
It's that awesome drug that nothing else feels like.
Yeah.
And then other people like it, so it is symbiotic, and isn't that lovely?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Also, I'm obsessed with your energy, and I'm like, I'm just trying to deal with it, Kristy.
You're amazing.
Oh, I was her neighbor, and I could feel her energy from 2 blocks away.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah. No.
You just have the windows cracked at night, and then you hear this like Kristy Jackson laugh, like coming through the.
She would walk her dog by my little house, and I got a dog, so we're in that, and then our dogs fell in love. And so it was awesome because I got to get a little Kristy Jackson fix almost every day.
Kristy Jackson fix. That's a song for you songwriters.
There's your title.
I would echo what Kristy said, and I would say it's a mistake that I made, and I'm continuing to make, that I am trying to rectify. That I was doing a live stream about once a week for the first couple of months. And then I just got sick of myself, and I felt like, but I was also probably trying to do it too long. I was trying to play like a whole set, it was probably too much music. And I was just, and I really love collaboration. I really miss playing with other people. And I just felt like I wasn't offering anything anymore, and I stopped, and it was a mistake. So you guys can all text me in the next week and say, so get on it. It's good. It's good stuff, and it's good for our friends and fans and our families and our community, and it's good for us. to keep doing what we do, you know.
I want to add to that just a little bit as the one who kind of hangs in the background, because the only singer aspect of me is, you know, the car shower kind of aspect. If someone's in the car, they get the, I don't want to say the pleasure, whatever the opposite of that is for my singing, but I mean, it's something that every musician has dealt with, I'm pretty sure, if they're in the industry for an extended period of time, is that self-doubt, or like I'm not doing this right. Like they start overthinking it too much, which is, I mean, I struggle with this to this day, especially even now with the pandemic going on. But I mean, it's getting out of that hole of just being like, I know my worth. I know this is good. I've got to stop overthinking it and just do it, or just slight readjustments. And at least for me, what I have done for myself personally is at least gone back to just the fundamentals on bass, and really like, always like, all right, I haven't actually had the time to, you know, sit down for hours and actually practice these old fundamentals that I used to do, and really just bring that back home and see if it doesn't kind of spark some new ideas or some fresh motivation that I really need during this time.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
That's awesome. I think that singing in the shower is something that can help everybody too.
People keep saying this word shower. What is that?
You wouldn't know.
Okay.
Well, guys, I think that I want to kind of start getting some final thoughts from your hearts and from your minds, because there's so much good stuff that's happening today, and there's so many good words of advice that are going around, and because we're also all trainers in this together, right? You know, we've been brought together today by a community called Train Cycle, and this is something that is a new company that is trying to get all of you, literally all of you guys, into schools and into customization and training and stuff like that. And wow, just a very cool thing to be able to learn from you. So I hope people are watching and want to do that. But what's some final, I guess, words of wisdom, words of encouragement for young people who are watching? Maybe some encouragement for our teachers who are watching as well, because
let's get like a minute and 30. Somewhere between the 30-second and 90-second like nugget of wisdom that only the individual who gives it could possibly give. No pressure. Possibly give.
Here's what I love, and I'm not gonna have advice. So I think what's so cool is the reason that I love Train Cycle is because I love teaching. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love teaching theater, and I do think I'm fine at it. But the thing is, I can get to probably 70% of kids, and I'm there, and I get it. And then there's these kids that I try so hard, or these adults or these people, and I try so hard to get it. And then someone else comes in, an assistant director or another actress or performer, and they say maybe even the same thing that I've been saying, but in a different way, and click, that person's got it. So it's so important that you all have your own way of saying things. So let's start with you, Tess. What are some words of wisdom that you have for those that are watching, or any really final thoughts of Tess?
I'd say, you don't have to live in LA or New York to do this for a living. I'm a 7th generation North Carolinian. I'm also super curious about everywhere and everybody. I was always the person that asked the new kid, where are you from? What did your grandma cook? What did your grandma play? That kind of thing. I went to grad school in Ireland. I'm a hyper North Carolina girl with a global curiosity. That being said, we haven't talked a lot. We've talked a lot about production and songwriting and performance rights and some legal stuff, but we haven't talked much about, I'll put on like my curatorial or talent buyer hat. And if you are someone who is starting to call up and work with booking agents often have assistants. Treat everyone with respect, because in 4 months, that agent assistant, it's like on that TV show, what's the one with the guy called Ari, and he always is like looking over your shoulder instead of looking you in the
Entourage.
Entourage.
Oh.
Okay? Don't be like Ari. Don't be an Ari. So when you're working with and phone calling and emailing agents, their assistants are going to have their jobs or start their own agencies in a year or a month. So, just don't be a jerk to the people that are got their foot in the door. And that even means like, don't be a jerk to the person mopping the stage or the person, the roadies and things like that, because that makes the world go around.
That's such a great point. Not only is it a good thing to be a good person, but huge industries are very small.
Right. Yeah. But also, Tess, I'm so glad you said that, because the world can use a lot more kindness right now. And I don't care what anybody's going through. We all have the choice to do that. We all have the choice, no matter how bad your day's being, you can treat another human being like a good human being. And I love that. It's beautiful.
Laurelyn, what are your thoughts?
Look at Sean's comment.
Don't be a jerk to your monitor engineer. Yes, that is great words to live by.
Well, I think everything.
I think what I would say kind of follows up on what Tess was saying, is that there's so much collaboration involved in this profession. Even if you're just a single artist, you can't do any of it without, all of the other people involved, the creative team, the sound people, the booking people, whatever, we're all not doing exactly the same thing, but it's a family. And if you of people, or if you're lucky, the people you build up around you are like family, and you support each other, and it's not a solo job, no matter what you're doing.
So true.
I love
that. Great sentiment. How about Wes? What are your thoughts on the matter?
Yeah.
My thoughts on the matter. Well, I want to add to Tess's, because that was actually really good. The other thing there is
actually really good.
It's actually really good. I'm mad that I didn't think about it all firsthand. But add to just be respectful of everyone around you and try and have a good attitude, which can be hard sometimes, especially if you're on the road and you're around these people every day. You're day 20 on a 45-day tour. It's hard to find the time to recollect, but it's a lot easier. People will remember your attitude much more quickly than they will your work.
So funny.
So it's always good to try and have a good attitude. And if you get into a tough with someone, at least have the decency to try and apologize. And going back to the performer aspect of stuff, trying to formulate a game plan, trying to get everything kind of in line. Even the best laid plans, something can go awry. Being able to adapt and improv on the fly as a musician can really push you in the right direction.
Love that.
Yeah, that would be great. Man, I'll work with any of you guys.
Yeah.
Kristy, how about you?
Well, you got quite a collection of people here with different talents and different strengths, and this is the great. There is no expiration date on learning, and there's not an expiration date, like in my industry, there's not an expiration date on a great lyric. There's not an expiration date on a really catchy melody. So at any age, whether you're young, whether you're old, it doesn't matter, just do what you want to do,
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Yeah, I think that no expiration date on learning is huge, because I think my life is much richer now because I've decided to learn more than I ever did.
And if you're young and you're watching out there and you can't wait to get done with school, just know that in like 10 more years, you're going to wish you could go back to school.
Or you'll be really glad you don't have to, so you can learn the way you want to.
True.
First in, last out, Lacey Green, Queen of Bamboo. What are your thoughts?
Queen of Bamboo.
I know first you want to say that, that's all such great advice. I mean, I think all of those things are brilliant. I would echo all of that. I would say be courageous. I think if you're going to be a creative person, protect the part of your heart that is brave. There's a lot of rejection. There are going to be a lot of no's. There are going to be a lot of things that just aren't the right fit for you at the right time. There's a lot of like kismet, cosmic things that have to line up for certain things to pan out. And in my experience, some of the things I started out thinking I would do, I haven't done, but I've also done tons of things that I never even imagined I would do or didn't even think I would, to ask for or to want to do. And so I think just keep at it. Be brave, be courageous in the stuff that you say and what you make. Try lots of different things if you want to try different things. I think the thing about being a creative person is we'll try to put lots of boxes and lots of stipulations and lots of things on you. And my advice is to just try and fend them off at all costs. And
that is really beautiful. You should write songs.
Yeah. It'll work out for you. Guys, I can't tell you, you guys all light up my life like in different ways. I love, and just like we were talking about, different strokes for different folks. You can all stroke my folks. Or wait.
Whoa! Wait. All right, this is supposed to be a PG-13.
I did that in a very sweet way. It did not.
Erinn, if anybody auxiliary, you can find Erinn online if you want to stroke her folk.
No. I love y'all.
Yeah.
You guys are so special. You're so sweet, and your hearts are obviously at the forefront of your craft and your business, which are one and the same.
And your circulatory system.
That too. So I hope that everybody out there has really enjoyed getting to know all of these beautiful folks as much as we have. We have another Train Cycle trainer talk coming up. It is going to.
Did you see how she had to check the notes for the branding? I knew it was trainer talk.
No. I was just checking the date. And it's
right.
December 15th. December 15th.
And that's going to be hosted by Tim Beeman, who's also
the Podfather.
And very funny and not too bad to look at.
Yeah, I love Tim. Good dude. So come back for that. In the meantime, please, guys, support your local artists, support the arts in general, and get in touch with somebody that might need a little air hug, because I think we could all use a little bit of extra love.
You can find these and other great trainers at Train Cycle at their website, which has been prevalent throughout the stream. I'm sure any of these people here would love to take you under their wing and teach you what they know. That's what this is all about. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for entertaining us as well. So
great to see y'all.
And we'll see you all on the, as the kids are saying, flippity flops.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.